On this episode of the Hanford Insider, we'll check in with Hanford City Manager Chris Tavarez to hear the latest city updates. Rob will give you a look at some of this week's community events, and I'll be back with your sports report. This is the Hanford Insider for Monday, March 9th.
Welcome to the Hanford Insider Podcast, your inside look at the people, places, and stories that make Hanford such a special place to call home. I'm your host, Rob Bentley. March has arrived, bringing a little sunshine, a fresh start to spring, and plenty happening around town. From local history to community happenings and the voices that keep Hanford thriving, we're here to keep you connected. So grab a cup of coffee, enjoy the beautiful weather, and let's dive into another episode of the Hanford Insider. In community news this week, we'll get our City Council update from City Manager Chris Tavarez in just a minute. We'll also get a recap of the Sierra Pacific girls basketball team's state title run this week later in sports with Eric. Let's take a look at this week's community calendar. Friday night, March 13th, is the annual Main Street Hanford Everybody's Irish in downtown Hanford beer tasting event. Tickets are still available at mainstreethanford.com. Frontier Elementary School will be holding their annual Spring Carnival on Saturday. The Miss Kings County pageant will be held on Sunday afternoon at 2:30 p.m. in the Hanford High School Presentation Center. Tickets are $20 and are available at the door. Congratulations to all of the contestants. And the King's Symphony will be holding their spring concert at the Hanford Fox Theater on Sunday, March 15th at 4 p.m. Visit kingsymphony.org for tickets and details. If you have an event coming up, large or small, and you'd like some help getting the word out, let's work together. Send your information to hanfordinsider@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get a complete calendar of events. It's the most comprehensive community calendar available. Well, it's great to be able to finally sit down with our new city manager of the city of Hanford, Mr. Chris Tavarez. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great today, Rob.
So, Chris, you're not new to Hanford. You've been in city government here for a few years in Hanford in several positions. But how has it been so far ascending to the city manager spot?
Well, after about 5 years now, I'm here in Hanford, as you said, in various capacities. And now over the last 6 months as interim city manager and as permanent city manager now. Again, very honored to take on that role, but it's been good. Most recently, I was able to announce appointment of Destiny Borba as the city's new finance director. So we have the executive team, all of the department heads in place now, having to backfill some positions since she was an internal candidate. She's a native of Hanford. She's been with the city going on 5 years now, too, like me. She has a broad experience there, so we're just really looking for a finance manager now to come in and take on her old position and help stabilize all of the operations in the finance department. I think that's really important for the city, just to have that stable finance side. I'm a little bit biased in that regard since my background is in finance, but it is really the root of a lot of our of what we do, of our operations. How do we deliver projects? How do we add staff? And how do we make efficiencies within the organization? So I'm really looking forward to that. And excited just to have a good team in place. We have a great staff. We have a great organization going. So all the wheels are turning in a positive trajectory. And we're really in a great position to deliver things to the benefit of the residents of Hanford at this point in time.
And we've got a list of about 426 topics that we should get to today, but we don't have that kind of time. So let's hit a few of them. A lot of people are really interested in some of the projects that we have going on around town. We know that as the weather warms up, we're going to start seeing more crews out doing repairs. But what's in the hopper for these projects that are going on over the next several months?
I think it's important to note and to segue into Measure H. Thanks to the voters' passage of Measure H, a 1 cent transactions and use tax for the city. One of the exciting things that we've been able to do is, first off, help improve our roads. We've kicked off a road preservation program in the city, so that adds in millions of dollars otherwise that we wouldn't have been able to do for road preservation. We've started design of road rehabilitation projects. Those are a little bit longer because those are full depth replacement projects typically. So usually it's about a year design, and then we can go out to bid, and the bidding time is spring, summer of every year because you need warm weather to get those roads done. In conjunction with Measure H, we have a public safety building that we've kicked off the design phase of that project. And in that regard, recently, the City Council approved the purchase of a $1.1 million land in the block of Harris and 7th area. So we're really looking at that area to be able to build a public safety building. We're hoping some other parcels line up in that area to provide enough room for that building, and that will serve all operations in the police department. We'll have our fleet there, our SWAT hopefully operating out of there. All of the exciting things in the police department will be there in conjunction with our fire administration. Staff will be out of that building in the future. And having that in the downtown area, I believe, will really help revitalize our downtown area in Hanford. It'll be one of those spearheads of economic activity and a kind of an economic boon, if you will, for the downtown area. So we're really excited about that. Our wastewater improvement project continues to roll. We're in negotiations right now with Optera, who is the design firm for that project. We have a good portion of the wastewater treatment plant, which is over 50 years old. It's well aged at this time. We've been able to put it together with, or keep it going with Band-Aids and duct tape, if you will. But it is time to upgrade that section of the plant. Without that, we're going to have significant problems out there. So it's time to move forward on that project. And in addition to that, we also got to look at very soon expansion of the project from 8 million gallons a day to go to 12 million gallons a day, which would take care of the city for decades to come. And kind of in the back end of that, we need to consider tertiary treatment. That's not part of the current phase of the project with Optera, but that's something on the horizon that we need to look at. Refuse rates. We recently started notifying the public of that need out in that division, and that's an important segment of services that folks in the city may take for granted, but being able to pick up your garbage weekly is an essential city service. That fund is actually in the deficit right now. So as part of the refuse rate study that we did with an outside consulting firm, we asked them to take a look at our operations and recommend efficiencies to us to maximize every dollar that we spend out there. And they came back and said that we're doing a lot right. But there are concerns in our fleet that we need to take a look at. So having the appropriate amount set aside to renew our fleet as needed, that way we don't have costly repairs on an ongoing basis, is important for the city. It really is an important endeavor in looking at these rate increases. nobody ever wants rate increases. It's not something that the city actively says, hey, how can we take out more from the ratepayers? We really want to take as little as we can. Rates need to be justified. We can only take or ask for what is essential for the operations of these services. So looking at the refuse rates, which refuse is another way of saying solid waste, that's our solid waste services, but even our wastewater, we have to ask what is appropriate for the ratepayers. Otherwise, it's illegal for us to ask for any more.
So let me ask you this. We're talking about the rates for the refuse. And I know that when I was a kid here in Hanford, we'd clear up the lot and we'd throw stuff in the back of the pickup truck and we'd drive out to the dump and throw it in the dirt. But the times that I've been out there now, I know that that's not a dump, is it?
No, it's not, Rob. And thanks for bringing that up. But it's important to note that Kings County does not have a lot of dump sites. Really what we have here for the city of Hanford is a transfer station. So all of that gets transferred over to sites like Kettleman City. Most of our solid waste actually ends up there. And that is a big reason for the necessity for these rate increases. There's only so much the city can do as far as our operations go. But then those costs, which are called tipping fees, once our dump trucks dump at the transfer station, those tipping fees are only controllable to some extent. Unlike other counties that might have a dump site closer to them, we don't. So we are held to this cost that until we figure out a better way, maybe working with the county for a closer dump site. Maybe that's a possibility in the future. But that's something that we'll have to partner with them on to decrease fees possibly in the future. But that is a big hurdle that we have to adhere to. And another thing, too, is the state is looking at our fleet and potentially looking in the future of having electrified refuse trucks. And that's a significant challenge in the future. We're probably talking a good decade out, but that's something that's on the horizon. And so that we need to be mindful of that and continue to look for ways to make efficiencies in what we do in our operations.
I'd like to go back to two projects that you mentioned. You talked about repairing roads and everything, and a lot of people are concerned about East Lacey and the condition of the road. And I know that there's going to be significant work that's going to be done out there between 10th Avenue and Costco. But what kind of timeline are we looking at? I drove down there today and it's in pretty bad shape.
We're still looking at months out, maybe even up to I think it's next year actually that we're looking to go out to bid on that project. So there's still a lot of design work to be done. This is upwards of a $15 million project. Most of the funding is in place right now, but staff is actually actively looking for grant opportunities out there to help with components of the project, such as any landscaping that may go out there. We're looking for grant opportunities out there. Transit components of the project, we're looking for grant opportunities out there, working with CART in partnership with them for federal and state money on there. So unfortunately, it's not going to happen this year. The shovel won't hit the ground this year, but hopefully next year we'll start seeing phase one, which is the most likely going to be the westward part of the project be done first, and then the eastern portion of the project done afterwards. And most of the eastern portion is east of the railroad tracks.
And then the other project, going back to the public safety building, I'm trying to envision the building on that property. And I know that there were other properties that you looked at maybe, but the location, can you maybe tell us about some of the other locations that you were looking at and why this particular location of the public safety building is the best choice?
Well, as you noted, we have looked at a couple of other locations, and as part of our environmental review process and just project process, we need to look at other locations. Another location we've had our eye on has been in the downtown area, more in the outskirts of the downtown area. But that, and compared to where we're looking at right now at 7th and Harris area, the area we're looking at now provides more of that direct economic boom we're hoping for the downtown area. There's another location that we were looking really outside of the downtown area. There was a lot of land potentially available there, but there were also other concerns there that maybe it wouldn't have been the greatest location. But no matter what, all of the locations would provide a new building for our police department and fire administration. And that is essential as we continue to grow and as the building that we're in now deteriorates. I mean, unfortunately, we've had sewage leakage in our dispatch areas and throughout the building. So it's just really antiquated, really cramped. The females officers don't have enough locker room space, and the accessibility, handicap accessibility concerns in the building area are really of concern and outdated. We're just so cramped, and there's, I wouldn't want to have our police department in a sardine area too long. So that's the goal, and I think that's what the voters stood behind as the Measure H passed, and that's really what my goal as city manager is, to deliver that for the community, and it really will be a generational impact, I believe, as generations from now, by having a public safety building more prominent in the downtown area, will make a lasting impact to our city, as a sign of delivering safety for our city and providing support to downtown as we continue to grow.
Yeah, I think it's a great location. I'm excited, especially I've always been a big fan of the Downtown East Corridor project, and I really think that that's going to help pave the way for more foot traffic downtown and seeing businesses, restaurants go in, and that CART transit facility is amazing, and I think it's going to be a good pairing of public service buildings. Another thing that's enhancing downtown is this RAISE grant that the city received. It was like $15 million.
Yes, Rob, we're really excited about that. The CTC, in conjunction with Caltrans, has given us the go-ahead to get that programmed with KCAG. And what that means is that very soon we'll be able to start working on this $15+ million project for the downtown area, which will work to enhance vehicle safety, pedestrian safety, just the walkability of downtown, which I believe will help businesses thrive and grow. We'll be able to entice more businesses in the downtown area and make more of a regional draw. I mean, we're already the county seat, but the more businesses that we can draw into our city, the better, in my mind. So we're really excited about that. We're going to start some more direct stakeholder outreach with the downtown businesses and groups, and get going on it very soon.
All right, so coming up in June, we have the next election, and we've been hearing a lot about this transient occupancy tax. Can you kind of explain what that is and how it affects the Hanford citizens and maybe those who come from out of town?
Yeah, so a transient occupancy tax, currently the city is at 8%. So every time a visitor comes in, typically a visitor comes in from outside of the city, they come into a hotel, they'll have an 8% tax. We call it TOT for short, charged for every night of their stay. So what's being proposed is an increase of that 8% tax to 12%, which would bring roughly about $400,000 of additional revenues into the city for essential city services. So to support our police department, fire department, road work, and parks and sporting events that come up at our sporting facilities, such as the Youth Athletic Conference, the Bob Hill Complex, and then our softball complex. There's a lot of tournaments that come in. And so this really, unless our residents want to stay at hotels, this does not directly impact them. So it's impacting visitors that come in, but it would help the city with additional revenues to support all of those areas that I just mentioned, which I think is really important for the city and a good opportunity.
So another opportunity that residents have in some areas of town is we have these landscape assessment districts, and I've been intrigued with these since some of the discussion over parkland in town, and we talk about these grass medians. I think of 11th Avenue there, all the way down from Fargo to Flint. A great strip of walkability. Sidewalks, trees, grass, and such. But some neighborhoods have difficulty passing these increases in their landscape assessment district fees, and we've seen it in social media. People are, why is the park closed? Why is the grass overgrown? It's a big topic, but maybe just a couple minutes here, you could kind of explain to the listeners about these landscape assessment districts and how come they're so important to keeping our city beautiful.
Yes, Rob, thank you for bringing this up. So this is an interesting topic because landscape assessment districts, unlike just a normal city park, are funded by the property owners around these districts or in these districts. So the city administers them, but it's not general taxpayer money that funds these districts. It is the property owners' assessments, their property taxes that pay for these districts, their maintenance, and any improvements in these areas. For the city, it does benefit us all to see a green area, a nice area, but it does impact these districts even more. I'm sure these folks appreciate having their landscaping nice. Some of them have playgrounds, some little parks in their areas, and that's what their assessments pay for. So several of these districts over the last 10 to 20 plus years sometimes have had a stagnant assessment. And what that means is over the past 20 plus years, perhaps, there's been no change in the amount that they pay for the maintenance of their areas. So over time, many of these districts have now built up a deficit. And what that means is their revenues don't cover their expenses. So the city has recognized that and said, hey, we need to go out to the property owners and let them know it's time for an assessment change if they want to see their districts still up at this higher standard of service. If they don't, that's a decision up to the property owners, but then that would mean that they would not have as high of a service and perhaps not the landscaping that they've been accustomed to over the many years of existence in these districts. So our job as a city is to get the information out there, educate these districts onto what the needs are, where they've been at, what the need is, and leave it up to them and for them to decide, and the city will respect that from there.
I know that when I've talked to previous city managers and the public information officer, Brian, you talk about how the city goes to these ICSC conferences and checks out what's out there, what companies are looking, and try to find a good match for the city of Hanford. And we talk about rooftops and stuff. And I know there's no big news to announce or anything like that, but where does Hanford stand right now in terms of attracting some of these businesses and restaurants that we've been desiring for so long?
Well, a lot of times it takes many years, and I like to use the analogy of a seed is planted and then eventually it'll bloom into something. So I can say right now to you and your listeners that there are some restaurants in the works to potentially be coming into the city that we can't announce quite yet, but I think would be an exciting addition to the city. and help bring about maybe even a little mini economic boom in their areas as they develop. But I see that as a benefit as we go out to these conferences where we look for and talk to these potential businesses. That's a benefit of going to these conferences. And what we see is hopefully to make an announcement this year of some exciting businesses, some restaurants coming into town.
What a tease. What a tease. Yeah. We're definitely excited because we know the potential's there. We see the land. We envision places to go and recreate or dine with family and everything. And Hanford's hungry. Hanford's hungry for some nice places. So thank you for sharing that information. It's been so awesome talking to you. I've had a chance to speak with you on several occasions, and it's always a pleasant experience. And I know that in the city manager role, you've gained the support of the staff, the city council, the leaders, and the citizens of the community. And I think you're going to do a great job here.
Thanks a lot, Rob. I'm really fortunate to have been appointed into this position and have the support of staff, the organization, city council, and many members of the community that I've been able to reach out to and start working with. I'm excited about the possibilities coming up over the next many years and building that foundation for the city. I'm excited to be focusing in on infrastructure, which is key to bringing about exciting businesses into the city, improving operations. That way these businesses can come in, making the city of Hanford really a great place to live and to work and to bring about just really a generational impact. So not just for us, but for our kids, for our grandkids coming in, and make us a desired location to want to work, play, live, everything you can think of.
Well, that sounds great, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now it's time for Hanford Insider Sports with Eric Bentley.
The Sierra Pacific girls basketball team's quest for a state title marches on after winning their first 3 state playoff games last week. In Tuesday's first-round matchup against Heritage, defense was on full display while the offense steadily put up points, and the Golden Bears took down the 15-seed Patriots 58-46. Thursday's matchup with 10-seed Folsom was a much more physical game that saw the Golden Bears outduel the Bulldogs 66-57 to advance to the regional semifinals. In that regional semifinal game Saturday, the Lady Bears picked up right where they left off with another convincing victory 63-50 over 6-seed Wood Creek. That's now 11 wins in a row for Sierra Pacific as they advance to the regional finals for the first time since 2020 and the first time ever in Division II. With the 1-seed McClatchy going down back in the second round, the Golden Bears will play one last time at home with a trip to the Golden One Center on the line as they take on 4-seed Oakland Tech Tuesday at 7 p.m. Out to baseball now, where Hanford High was the only baseball team to pick up a win, going 1-1 last week, taking down Independence 6-4, but falling to Frontier as the Bullpups now sit at 2-2 overall on the year. Hanford West baseball lost to Madera and Mount Whitney last week to fall to 3-2 this season. And Sierra Pacific baseball lost to El Diamante and Sanger as the Golden Bears still look to pick up their first win of the year. In softball, it was a nice start to the year for the Hanford West softball team. After dropping their first game of the season, the Huskies have bounced back with 4 wins in a row. Last week, picking up a 3-2 victory over Central East and a 12-2 run rule win versus Mission Oak. The Hanford High softball team fell to 2-4 on the year after going winless in tournament play in Clovis last week. And the Sierra Pacific softball team is still looking for their first win of the year after losing to Golden West last week to fall to 0-3. And before we go, a special shout out to the Sierra Pacific boys golfer Gavin Hoggard for hitting a hole-in-one in last week's tournament versus Morro Bay. That is the first hole-in-one recorded in school history. Congrats, Gavin. As always, if you have a score report or a team update for any team in any sport at any level, you can let us know by emailing hanfordinsider@gmail.com. I'm Eric Bentley, and this has been your Hanford Insider Sports Report.
And that wraps things up for this week's show. If you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to show your support, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Hanford Insider to make a donation. If you'd like to join the Hanford Insider email list, stop by my website at hanfordinsider.com to sign up for updates. You'll also get an exclusive copy of my newsletter in your inbox each week. I also need your help getting the word out about the show by liking and sharing on social media, or, like most people, just telling a friend. For more information about the show, you can find this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and YouTube at Hanford Insider. If you have a show idea, be sure to email me at hanfordinsider@gmail.com and I'll look into it. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Hanford Insider Podcast. Have a wonderful week.